All right, how's everyone doing out there? Hope you're having an awesome day. I wanted to jump on here and talk a little bit about the Sekhem Healing I do and what exactly that is, as many people haven't ever really heard of it. In fact, I didn't hear of it either until just a couple years ago. I was doing energy work for like probably 20 years now in secret. No, it's more like 12 years I've been doing energy work in secret. A lot of it was grid work, a lot of it sitting in meditation, noticing what was going on in my body, and then shifting the energy, becoming aware of emotion, feeling the emotion, letting it go. And as an empath, I would be around people and I'd feel their emotions. And so that would trigger my stuff and it would trigger my thoughts and all this stuff. So it was like working with that, letting that go. And then I realized over time, going to areas on the planet or even just tuning into them, you can feel the energy through the body of that space, and you can kind of feel like what would be needed, what would be beneficial. And oftentimes it's not the exact opposite, because that creates a friction. And so it's a dance, it's a movie, and it's a suggestion, it's even a visualizing. And honestly, at the end of the day, most energy healing work is you're channeling, you're allowing a flow of energy to come through that is not your own. So the less ego involved, the better the channel. And Sekhem is similar to Reiki, although it works at a higher level. And this is how it's been explained to me. A higher level meaning higher frequency. It's actually the first energy. It's a creational energy. And this woman, Lesley Jackson, wrote a book about Sekhmet and Bastet. And so Sekhmet's associated with Sekhem, and it's even in the name. But Sekhem is the original power that arose during first time. That which drives creation, it's heat, light, and fire, a life-giving energy of the sun. And so this original energy contained chaotic energy, and that's a lot of like Sekhmet. Sekhmet's known as the fierce enforcer, lioness, goddess of fire and destruction, but she's also one of the greatest healers in ancient Egypt, because they realized that the fact that she could create so much destruction and enforce the will of her father Ra. She's one of the eye goddesses, and Ra was the sun god. And so she was the enforcer of his will, and she had to be subdued. Basically, they tricked her thinking she was drinking blood when it was actually like an alcohol that subdued her and turned her into Hathor. And Hathor is the goddess of love and celebration and drink. And so that's a good example of like a lot of the gods are interchangeable. You'll see that even like Sekhmet and Bastet have a similar energy. Bastet's like the domesticated version of Sekhmet, and yet she still has claws and teeth. And you see like in all these stories of, the Egyptian pantheon, the Neteru, that they're very interchangeable. There's a dance. And so this is, to me, indication in how I experience these energies, that they're not like gods of deities as like a being that's going to come down and this is who it is and it's always that thing. It's actually, the being is quite fluid and dynamic and changing, just like energy itself. And so it's not paganism, it's more of a connection to cosmic energies and archetypal energies that can change and adapt. Kind of like me, here's this white guy in Hawaii, and I'm talking about ancient Egypt, but I've had many lifetimes. I haven't been a white man in every lifetime, and yet in this one, that's my station of identity. And yet I have my connection to my soul, and I have a connection to my soul family. And that doesn't always fit like, the package. And with this package, I'm Celtic, so I have the ability to tune into things, and I have that genetic predisposition to be connected with, the elemental kingdom, fire, and intuition. And that's true of every culture. And then within every culture, there's the individuals that are more sensitive to it. And so that's why what was a curse when I was younger has become a lot of a blessing now, where I use this sensitivity for the energy healings and to tune in to what my guides are directing me to work. Where does the energy need to go? And so these Sekhem healings, I'm being guided into the areas of the body where you have your hands over. There's certain symbols you use as I'm guided and directed that flow forth. And so the first half of the session, a lot of it is just the hands hovering over the person. And then I also like to incorporate some sound. So that's something I do different than maybe other Sekhem practitioners. And I'm curious if you've had a Sekhem session with somebody, what that was like, and if you would be willing to share in the comments how your experience was. But so in my case, I bring the sound healing aspect into it, which I think is really powerful, the frequency and vibration. And then also, some guided meditation, and the burning of sage and cedar, which is really powerful for clearing energies. And basically just whatever I'm guided to do as far as removing energies, field of energies. In my case, I became aware through meditation and through a galactic shaman I was working with that there's these weapons and these seals and these blocks in the body. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it's an actual sword like in my heart or an axe in my head. And yet that in meditation, that's how I experience it. I'd just be meditating. I'm not thinking about nothing. I'm just letting go, breathing, letting go. And then all of a sudden there's like a pain in my heart, and I feel like this stabbing pain, and I just tune into it. And I get the awareness that there's like a dagger there. And it's like, oh, that's kind of weird. And then the galactic shaman guy said, you can remove this stuff yourself. And so it's just kind of this light pulling out. And it could be all in my imagination, but I experience relief. So either way, it doesn't matter. If I'm experiencing relief, then to me, that's enough. So you become aware of these energies in the body, and you can actually remove them. And this is the work I've been doing for myself and others in secret for quite a while now. Also, if you've come to any of my events, any of the circles I did, even years ago, the Humankind group at my house, or the Mankind Project groups, I was doing energy work there. And I wasn't doing it on people specifically. You have to have permission to do it on a person, even though you could still do it, but that's like a violation. It shouldn't really be done. Because what's on that person, whether it's an entity or energies or whatever, is for them. It serves, believe it or not, even though we may not think so. And to remove it too soon, it can make someone feel ill and disconnected. So, but if you came to one of my groups or an event, I clear the energy. I'm helping to create the container, and then I'm helping to guide people to get into their hearts, to expand that container's energy and make it less permeable to outside influences. When I was newer to doing this with groups of people, I was very rigid about, you can't come late, you can't do this, and having to address everything in the circle. And more I realized that a lot of it, is just fine. You just let it flow, it comes in and out, but at a certain point there does have to be this structure in this container. And so once the ball's rolling, it's like, okay, nobody else can come in, and that includes entities and whatever else that wants to come feed on our energy. And there's a lot of that feeding of people's energy here, feeding off of people's energy. And some people do it knowingly and others not so much, but I've seen it, firsthand, where someone's like trying to grab my energy out while I'm e-dancing, at the e-dance, and then he actually takes off his necklace and charges his necklace right there on the floor. I'm like, bro, I know what you're doing. I'll give you some energy if you need it that bad. But anyway, that's a bit of a tangent. But yeah, energy vampires are real. So that's why we create sacred spaces. We create containers, and that's why we wake people up, why we wake humans up to the God creator beings and the energy that we all exude and influence the planet with. In fact, whatever we're thinking, whatever we're engaging with as we're thinking. So we have thoughts come, and that's going to happen all the time. But if we start engaging with the thought and really getting into it, that's actually putting out a field of energy, like a radio transmitter. And that's felt not only on this planet, but it's felt throughout the galaxy. And that's something that humans really aren't aware of. And that's something that we're being asked to grow up and become more aware of, become more cognizant of, that our actions and or even the thoughts we entertain are putting out a field of energy. So I hope you all have an awesome day, and I'll catch you again soon. Aloha.